We're back now to 8:09. One group watched last night's vice presidential debate very closely. Undecided voters, especially women. Our national correspondent Amy Robach watched last night with a group of them. Hey, Amy.
Hey, Ann, that's right. And before the debate, these women were truly torn about who they should vote for. But when I spoke to them after it was all over last night, some of them had their minds made up.
Never had an election quite like this one.
We gathered together 7 undecided women from swing states like Florida, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Colorado. 5 voters who in 2004 cast ballots for Bush, 1 for Kerry, and 1 who is going to the polls for the first time in 2008.
So a lot of pundits thought tonight that it was very important for Sarah Palin, Governor Palin, to prove that she had a real understanding of the issues. How many people now have a more favorable view of her?
Both of them were able to really make some strong statements and go back to some specific issues, because I hadn't seen Sarah Palin go to really specific voting records, and tonight I saw her come back in force a couple of times, and that impressed me.
She just seems like somebody that I could just sit across the table from and just have this great conversation with. I mean, she's feisty, and I like that.
By a show of hands, how many people were disappointed or have a less favorable view of Sarah Palin after watching her tonight? Nearly everyone.
She avoided questions that were clearly asked to her. I really do not feel that she's ready to lead this country.
How many people now have a more favorable view of Senator Biden post-debate?
I really like what Joe Biden said about what happened during the last 4 years. Our economy has gone down.
Has anyone here made a decision based on tonight? You have, Terry.
She has sealed the deal for me. She is in no way ready to, be the vice president and potential president of the United States of America. Not at all.
I made up my mind tonight. I have one parent who is a Democrat and the other one who's a Republican. I was undecided because I was hearing 2 different sides of the story. Palin didn't do it for me.
Was there a moment that stood out to you the most?
Biden said they would end the war, and she said they would not. That's pivotal for me. Pivotal.
What bothered me the most is the way they keep talking about rebuilding Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, everything. Not once did anybody mention that our people here down in New Orleans and Texas and everything else that are still without homes from Katrina.
Earlier this week, we heard from Geraldine Ferraro. She was the only other woman in that position in our country's history, and she supports the Obama-Biden ticket, but she said this. She said, I want Governor Palin to do well because it's important for little girls to see someone there who can stand toe-to-toe with a guy. Do you feel the same?
I have 2 daughters myself. I wanted her to do well. I needed her to do well. The world is watching.
I think she came out fighting, and I hope there comes a day when you don't have to be a gentleman to debate a woman, that you can really come out with some punches. Why does this have to be a discussion?
And it is the undecided voters in swing states like these women who will be very influential on Election Day, and they'll be watching each of these campaigns very closely over the next few weeks. Ann.
All right, thanks a lot, Amy. Now let's ask some keen political observers what they thought of the debate. Well, Leslie Sanchez is a Republican strategist and a CNN contributor. Megan Basham is a conservative author of Besides Every Successful Man. Julia Reed is a contributing editor for Newsweek magazine. And finally, Nancy Giles is a liberal social commentator. Good morning to all of you. Good morning.
Thank you. And now to Election Day, exactly 1 month away. And while the issues are a big part of who people vote for, so is likability. And following Thursday night's VP debate, I sat down with 7 undecided women voters to find out what matters most to them.
They come from America's heartland, key battleground states, Florida, Pennsylvania, Colorado, and Michigan. And to these women, country comes first.
It's an American election. Let everybody else work out their own problems.
We're tired of foreign policy. We want to start talking about America, how to retain jobs here, education, health care.
I know my generation's going to be the one that's affected by this economic crisis. I don't want to be paying this back forever.
According to a CNN opinion research poll, 51% of voters said Joe Biden won the debate, but 54% of voters said Palin was more likable.
All you got to do is go down Union Street with me in Wilmington and go to Katie's restaurant.
Just everyday American people, Joe Sixpack.
I like the fact that she seems like somebody I can sit down at the kitchen table with and talk to.
A lot of people think presidential elections have become popularity contests.
But this is no longer a popularity contest.
I really need to know that the candidate that I choose will represent what I believe in office. I don't care if I can have a drink of beer or wine with them.
Both parties' promised change is just over the horizon.
I didn't learn the term maverick.
Yeah.
I didn't hear what the maverick was. You know, they get on TV and they say, yes, we're going to lower your taxes, or yes, we're going to improve education, and then what happens? And it's so hard to believe. There were no real tangibles, so I was disappointed with that. And I guess my insight was it seemed like a lot more political cliches, and so I have to do a lot more research on my own.
We've assembled a political panel to talk more about the final month of the campaign. Mark Kitchens is the senior vice president at the